A small gap opened up in the top 8. A big gap, it seems, between those with something to play for and those seeing out time. Milestones, maulings. Let's pick the eyes out of all the action in hot or not. Rightio, Finey, you're up first.
I'm going to start with a not hot, and it's Adelaide. And Adelaide, you're a lucky football club that this wasn't round 23, because with 5 minutes to go, Adelaide, 100 points ahead of Essendon, were fourth on the ladder. Now, percentage is so tight between teams on 13 wins at the moment that Essendon's 3 goals at the end of the game actually knocked Adelaide back to fifth. So for Adelaide, not hot, not finishing off the game properly. Remember, it's all about percentage. So next week against Brisbane, who arguably are going to be worse than Essendon, yes, even though they beat the Bombers, do not take your foot off the pedal.
Actually, Essendon have done that to Adelaide before by allowing goals to be kicked against them,
St Kilda,
as you'd remember.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
Yeah, well, it gave Bomber fans something to cheer about for 5 minutes at least in a otherwise pretty dismal day. All right, my turn now, and it's a hot, and it's Jack Watts. And I'm not a few people climbing on this bandwagon now, but good on him. I mean, it's hard to think of a guy, a top draft pick, more maligned than this bloke over the years. It's been a slow burn, but he just keeps getting better and better. And I've heard the analogy Jack Gunston thrown around a bit in the last few days, and he's got a fair way to go to get to that level. But I see what they mean. I mean, he's a similar build. I think he has similar goal-kicking ability. He's averaging 2 goals per game. He's already kicked 34 for the year. His previous best in the whole year was 22. So he's really converting his opportunities. He's got a good footy brain, Finey. I think we've always known that. And his work rate too. And we saw there, not long after kicking what ended up being the winning goal, he's down defence saving the game. So he's had a really good season. And one of the reasons I like his coming of age is because it'll make people just hold off a bit longer on burning blokes before they've sort of reached their use-by date.
Yeah, well, it's been a good round for that, and I'll get to that with one of my hots or nots. But you're right. There's, in Jack Watts, I think a whole lot of perseverance by the Melbourne Football Club, and more so than by Jack, because they're the ones that have had to withstand a lot of public opinion against Jack Watts, and it's proven to be correct. He's a very good footballer for them as they get better. Maybe there's the link.
Okay, go right ahead.
Hot. GWS membership, but not in the west of Sydney. How well are they going in Canberra?
Yes, they are.
A sellout, 3,500 members. Now, Canberra's been a real tough footy waste. There's been something tempting there for the AFL. That's why we've had games there before, because we know Jezza came from Canberra. There's always been good football played there. It's half footy, half NRL. It seems as though GWS, with their great team and burgeoning success, have really won over a lot of Canberrans. And whilst it is a transient community made up of the political and public servants, so it's a place you'd avoid like the plague, it is going to be a GWS place for the foreseeable future. Well done, Giants.
Yeah, no, good call. Good call. Okay, my second one is a not, and it's a pretty obvious one, but Richmond. Just when you think they've stunk it up as much as they can, they stink it up some more. Their sixth lowest score in their history. Now, this is a side that's played finals the previous 3 years. 7 wins they've eked out, and 6 of those 7 wins this year have been against the bottom 5 teams. They've conceded 158 points in the last 2 games, and didn't even look like it from the opening minutes in this. And it wasn't just the scores either. It was tackles, half-hearted tackles, not sticking. Not enough guys prepared to put their heads over the contest. This is all the signs of a side that's just waved the white flag, Finey. It was terrible. And look, Richmond supporters aren't a mob who put up with too much without some, should I say, consequence. And I reckon there'll be plenty out of that defeat.
Well, they've got a meeting today. We'll see how that plays out. But if not for Alex Rance, they would have lost by 5 goals more. They were a bit better after quarter time, but how they could finish so terribly against Hawthorn and be publicly lambasted by their coach, only to start in a state of relative stupor, is It says something about the relationship between the players and coach, unfortunately.
Well, it says they're not listening, doesn't it, really?
It does.
Okay, last one.
My hot is, well, you had Jack Watts, and I've got another redemption song to sing. Thank you, Bob Marley. It is John Butcher. Now, John Butcher is almost the forgotten footballer. At one stage, 8 years ago, he was going to be the #1 pick in the national draft. And in the underage championships of that year, I think he might have got injured, but he also showed a real flakiness around goal that caught the attention of most clubs, but not Port Adelaide. And he barely plays any senior football, but you know what? Good on him for coming out there, kicking 4 goals. And when you think that he had a good round, Jack Watts had a good round, Reece Stanley, also a much maligned player, Drew Petrie, who'd been written off 2 or 3 weeks ago, they all starred. So you're right. Be careful when writing off these footballers. There is a reason why clubs retain them. And what do they all have in common, those guys? Key position players. So maybe there's something there for one tie victory.
All right, final hot for me, and it's North Melbourne. Perhaps should be lukewarm, but fact is they've won their last 2 games now after looking shot to ribbons. And, of course, on a very important occasion, Boomer Harvey's breaking of the AFL Games record. All the focus was on him, but they managed to refocus, get the job done against a side that had been playing great footy. So I thought it was a pretty solid win by them in the finish. They've clinched finals, basically, for a 3rd year in a row. How far they can go, well, I think that's debatable, but they will get players coming back. Sean Higgins is the key one, but he's only a few weeks away now. I think they'll continue to get better. So we've seen them get to the top 4 from the bottom half of the 8 2 years in a row. Perhaps this will be a 3rd year. Whatever, they are at least in the running, and I think the start of the year deserved that. So well done to the Roos for righting the ship.
Yeah, and they'd be really pleased that Goldstein played a much better game. He beat Hickey, Drew Petrie. And some of the players that were down in their losses are regaining form, and that's good news for them. Dal Santo as well.
Yeah.
The good ruckmen prove up their case, and we've had some really good ruckmen in recent years who've proved up their relevance and the contribution to the team's operation and the strategy. If your ruckmen are just there to fill a space, and some of them have been in recent times because some of the clubs haven't recruited well. They've tried to recruit an athlete, not a ruckman. Yeah. Most ruckmen are not athletes. If you get one that has a bit of athleticism, even better. But you've got to go for a ruckman first and foremost, rather than an athlete.